Hi, we're Girls Next Door, and you're listening to Hank's Corner.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Hank's Corner. As you know, I am your host, Hank Jr., part of Hank Jr. Productions, where I'm documenting life's moments through photography, videography, and now podcasting. And I'm very excited about this next foursome that I'm having. I don't think I've had four people at one time on my podcast, so I think this is going to be pretty cool. I think you're going to like it. We're going to take you back to the 80s, but we're also going to bring you back to present time because they have a new project that's recently out. I want to welcome to the show Cindy, Diane, Doris, and Tammy, the Girls Next Door. Welcome to Hank's Corner.
Hey, glad to be here.
Yeah. All right. And we talked offline, and a lot of people know that my podcast is a little corner somewhere in the Tampa Bay area. Where are you dialing in from today?
High Point, where am I saying?
We're in Waynesville, North Carolina.
And that's why I asked the question, because musicians are all over the place when they call in. They're either at home or all over on the road. And like today, sometimes they don't know where they are.
Yeah, we're up here doing, Tammy's brother has a nice lodge up here, and we come up here to practice, and we're doing a video. We're starting a video shoot tomorrow for our next single, which will come out in September. That's that song. If you have all of our stuff, if you don't, I'll make sure you get this next song. It's called When the Water's Down. It's a great story song, but that's what we're up here doing, is basically is practicing and filming that video.
Oh, that's awesome. And as I mentioned, I'm doing photography and videography along with the podcasting. And one of the things I like to do is I like to also promote the ones that are behind the camera. So who's doing your video shoot?
Oh, he'll kill us. He's an introvert.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, all of our husbands are very, very supportive and with us. But my husband actually did the two videos that we just have done recently, and he's working on this one as well. So he's a good one, but we got good
Mike Sanos.
And one thing we've never mentioned about Mike, he was one of the top engineers in Nashville when all that, and I know Mike's going to shoot us on that too, but he was one of the top recording engineers in Nashville for years.
Okay,
so we're fortunate to have him.
Yeah, like I said, I always like promoting them. I only do it off on the side. And, sometimes like other businesses, photography and videography can be very cutthroat. But I'm not like that. I love, everybody succeeds when everybody promotes each other. That's how I believe. Yeah. And I'm curious. So, we'll talk a little bit about the 80s in a little while. But how does it feel to be back together again?
Great. Oh, wonderful. Awesome. I mean, it is just, we had thought about this off and on for years, and it just wasn't the right time. And now we really feel like it's the greatest time that we could be together. It really is. And Cindy, I love what Cindy has to say. Cindy, why don't you tell them about?
Well, okay.
Let's just talk about this.
Well, it's been 30 plus years. And I think that none of us ever thought that we were totally done, that we were finished, and we would probably never have opportunities to sing together again. We've remained really good friends through the years as we've done life. We've raised kids, taken care of parents, a couple of cancer survivors right here. So it was just never the right time. But last year, we got together for kind of a little reunion concert, and it just felt good. It felt right. We had a couple of producers that came to the show that approached us and said, hey, y'all want to do a project. And so it just kind of gave us the boost that we needed. So I just think that we've all felt that we were all waiting for the right time, and we knew that there would be, and it's now. So we're just very excited.
And I'm sure when you're up there on stage, doing that at that time, it's like you never stopped, right?
Yeah, right. That is the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you guys have now, your new album, your new project is 2.0. And you got a recent song off there. Tell us a little bit about that. I've seen that it's doing pretty well.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks. It's called What's This Thing You Got About Leaving? another long title. But it's a song that we love it because it's up tempo. So it's a great, everybody loves an up tempo song. But the very first thing is the four of us, our voices doing 4-part harmony. It's our sound. It's what people know about us. So that's how the song starts. It's got a great message. We really are about this time around. We want to just have really good messaging in what we're saying, what we're communicating, where we are in life and what matters to us. We want that to now translate into our music more than it ever did 30 years ago when we were in our 20s and just kind of figuring life out. We're a little bit ahead of the game now in our later years. I almost said what decades we're in, but anyway.
If need be, I can edit anything out. That's how it goes.
No need to. We're proud of that. With all that comes some wisdom. So we've earned a lot of the gray hair and wrinkles. But anyway, so that's the song, and we think it's just a really good song all the way around. One of our producers, T.W. Hale, with H2 Productions, he and Tom Harding did our production work, but T.W. was one of the co-writers on the song. So we love the song.
Well,
and we do have a video. We do have a video with that song as well.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and play that. What's this thing you got about leaving here on Hank's Corner?
What's this thing you got about leaving just when love starts getting good? You're up and gone without any reason, and that's something I've never understood. If we're ever gonna make it, we're gonna have to make this right. What's this thing you got about leaving? You come and go, and that's not fair. But giving up, I don't wanna go there. We've come too far to lose it all. People change, fall out of love. A broken heart is how much you're afraid of. It's time for us to talk. What's this thing you got about leaving just when love starts getting good? You're up and gone without any reason, and that's something I've never understood. If we're ever gonna make it, we're gonna have to make this right. What's this thing you got about leaving? The hottest fire can't burn the truth. I love you, and no matter what we go through, I don't walk away. What's this thing you got about leaving just when love starts getting good? You're up and gone without any reason, and that's something I never understood. If we're ever gonna make it, we're gonna have to make this right. What's this thing you got about leaving? If we're ever gonna make it, we're gonna have to make this right. What's this thing you got about leaving?
Welcome back to Hank's Corner. I am Hank Jr., and I'm here with the Girls Next Door, and you heard their latest song, What's This Thing You Got About Leaving, part of their new project, 2.0 Now or Never. And, we talked a little bit about that you originated from the 80s, and you had a couple of songs that were pretty high up in the Billboard charts then, and we'll talk a little bit more. But I want to hear, when you did this song, how was it different than some of the 80s? Because, the 80s had a particular sound to it. And obviously this one has a little bit of a different sound, more unique to today. How was that for you to make that adjustment?
Wow.
Go ahead.
I think it was relatively easy for us because we weren't consciously thinking of, how are we going to adapt to the time period now? And, we just are who we are and we sound like who we sound like, and so we didn't really do anything consciously to make it more updated. I think the fact that the song was written probably a little bit later helps with that as well. But yeah, I think for the most part, we just kind of, we don't go there that often. We just are who we are,
Yeah.
I think to some extent but in regard to the recording, there was a tendency more in the 80s to do a more lush type sound. So there was a lot of stacking, and we didn't do that on this one. And of course, I love analog because I think you hear the breaths and you hear the squeaking guitars and you hear kind of that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So there's something different now with digital that they clean up a lot of things. So mm-hmm. I don't think it's right or wrong. I just say it's different. So that is some of the difference that we're seeing 30 years later, analog versus digital.
Yeah. And we were, back in the 80s, they were just coming out with the tuning products, for studio workers. And we're still like, don't you turn that thing on,
Yeah, and the instrumentation kind of changed too. We had a little bit of a different sound and instruments in the 80s, and now it's a little bit different. And I recently got to go to a Cars tribute band the other day, and it just reminded me of how it used to be, and that kind of thing. So it definitely has changed. But also, and I'm going to be putting up here on the screen is the clothing and hairstyles have changed since the 80s, correct?
Yes. And colors.
We miss those parachute pants.
Yes. And the big hair, but we still can do it if we need to.
The big hair.
Maybe not quite, but one of the, I think it was in the National Banner of the Nashville, Tennessee, and one of the things when we first came out, when MTM presented us, one of the articles that was written said, "What has enough teeth as a pack of piranhas and enough hair to stuff a mattress? Country's new group, the Girls Next Door." It was like, what? So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely some of the things like that have changed for better or for worse. I'm kind of glad I'm out of my 80s phase myself. I did have long hair at one point, and my kids can't believe it, but when they see the pictures, they they just laugh. That's all I can say.
Did you have a mullet, Hank?
I did not. I mean, it was kind of close to a mullet just because the way it grew, but I had a full long, past my shoulders and everything like that. Yeah. And then of course,
stuck in the 70s, weren't you?
I don't know that I was stuck in the 70s because I will say I was a little young in the 70s. So the 80s and 90s was kind of my era growing up, and
right.
Of course got to hear a lot of the 90s country sound was kind of my big thing. Of course, I love the classics, but 90s is kind of what I kind of grew up in the country thing. But a lot has changed, and tell me about your first single that came out. I mean, it reached number 14 on the Billboard charts. It was another a long title. Love will get you through times of no money better than money will get you through times of love. It's a tongue twister, but tell me about that song and how was it when it made the Billboard charts? Where were you when that came out?
Oh, I remember where I was. Do y'all remember?
Well, I remember where I was the first time I heard it.
Yeah, on the radio, yes.
Uh-huh.
But that was, and that song is so relevant for today. That's one thing when we released that song, it identified us right off the bat, and it has some neat things in it that are vocally identified us. But it was, and like I said, it's relevant today, and that's something we'll probably go back and recut that. But it does have, it has, well, that's in the thought process. But I remember the first time I heard it on the radio, and that was just amazing to have your own song on the radio. I think y'all called me, or we were calling each other saying, it's on in Nashville, because it played in a lot of other areas before it ever played in Nashville. So we were running. I didn't have a radio in the house. So I went out and started my car and caught the very last of it in my car. So,
I think I was in the car.
Were you really?
And that's kind of a different feeling. Although I know artists still kind of have that when it actually makes the radio and it gets into the mainstream, but it's a little different now because artists can now put everything out on social media, which is a good way to get everything out. But I kind of wonder, do they still have the same feeling that artists had when their music first hit the airwaves back in the day? I don't know, but it is definitely a special feeling the first time you hear it.
Oh, yeah. And I think it depends if you're, there are a lot of independent musicians out there who are very successful without ever charting on a radio anywhere,
Mhm.
And a lot of people have heard their music, so that's the difference. Back then, honestly, that was your only venue was, radio. And so I imagine when you get on radio now, there's still that big feeling because it is mainstream radio, usually. So I think if we heard it today, we'd have the same feeling,
Yes.
that we
Okay.
did back then.
Well, let's go ahead and play it here on Hank's Corner.
We started out with a shirt on our back, a $10 bill and an old bunny hat, a single room on the second floor, the wolf howling at our door. But we didn't know we were poor. Love will get you through times of no money. Better than money will get you through times of no love. Love will get you through times of no money. Better than money will get you through times of no love. Both of us working as hard as we could to make ends meet, but they never would. When Saturday morning you pawned your guitar and $30 in your hand, you bought my wedding band. Love will get you through times of no money. Better than money will get you through times of no love. Love will get you through times of no money. Better than money will get you through times of no love. What we're going through today sure ain't nothing new. If there's a will, love finds a way. We're the living proof. Love will get you through times of no money. Better than money will get you through times of no love. Love will get you through times of no money. Better than money will get you through times of no love. Better than money will get you through times of no love. Will get you through times of no money. Better than money will get you through times of no love. Love will get you through times of no money. Better than money will get you through times of no love. Love will get you through times of no money.
Welcome back to Hank's Corner. I'm here with the girls next door, and we're talking about how they're rebooting from the 80s, to today. And but I want you to take me back a little bit, 80s and beyond. How did you get started into music? What made you want to do it professionally, and how did you ladies get together?
Well, as far as us getting together, I knew our producer, Tommy West, in Nashville, and we all had known each other from Opryland, but he talked about wanting to start a girl group. And so I knew Cindy, and Cindy knew Diane, and Diane knew Tammy. And we all, after a series of phone calls, we got together and met with Tommy, and he started using us in the studio to sing background on some of the albums that he produced at that time. And our voices just worked. It was amazing how we kid and say we were, it's not kidding, it is true that we were a match made in heaven because our voices blended perfectly. And right after that, or not long after that, he became the head of A&R for MTM Records that moved to Nashville. And we were one of the first acts signed to MTM. So that's how we all got started.
Okay. And, what made you actually want to get into music? Was it different for everybody, or, was it natural for some and others it came later? How was it for you?
You tell yours first. 'Cause
Okay, yeah,
yours is different.
Mine's
Yeah.
so different because I always sang. I sang at church. I studied voice, and but I loved horses. I was an avid horse rider. Showed Tennessee walking horses, and I wanted to be a vet. That's what I wanted to do, and then realized after I started trying to get scholarships for academics to be a veterinarian, realized that my GPA was not going to get me there. But I also, at the same time, my voice teacher was taking us to audition for scholarships for the experience for voice scholarships. And I ended up having voice scholarships. And then also she took us, and Diane and I had the same voice teacher, took us to Opryland to audition. And I made Opryland. And I thought, you know what, the Lord really must be changing my path and putting me on where he wants me. And so that's how I end up in music. So like I said, I always sang, but I didn't really feel like that was the career until I was older.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was I can't even remember. I was very young when I started singing. My parents recognized it, but I really didn't get bit until I started taking voice from this lady that she's talking about, Phoebe Binkley in Nashville. And she was a total inspiration. And the thing I loved about her the most was that for myself, she taught me to sing a large variety of genres of music. We all trained classically. We all just sing our Italian arias, But then we did country, we did pop, we did whatever we loved doing. But it really hit me when I auditioned for a scholarship too and got one, but I turned mine down because that's when I started working at Opryland. I thought, well, I can make some money working singing and dancing. I'm going to do it. So I went to Opryland and did the shows there, and that's when I really started getting serious about it being a career. And I was I was 18 or 19 when I started at Opryland.
And you know what I thought, Diane, when you said that was something I thought about. How can you make money? I mean, it was just really impressed me that how could I make money doing something that is so fun? And that's, I think you said, that's when I thought, this is pretty good. I like this.
Yeah, it was nice.
And how about you, Cindy or Tammy back there? How did you get started?
Well, I grew up singing in church, and my parents loved music. My father always played country music, just non-professionally. He always said he gave me his love of music. So it was something that I always loved to do. I would sing with Karen Carpenter and Anne Murray on the radio. But I went ahead and pursued music in college as a music major. And then I auditioned for Opryland, and we all met each other. And but I'm from Nashville, and so I stayed in that area. But I definitely just grew up singing, loving to sing, and started singing in my church. I think I was 6 when I did my first solo in church. So, Tammy.
And I grew up in Arlington, Texas, and sang with my mom's family, the Wills family. They had a syndicated TV show. We traveled every weekend, all summer long, singing in different venues, mostly churches, and then moved to Nashville when I was 12. And we kept singing. Then in high school, I was in a couple of different bands. We sang all the time. And then I auditioned for Opryland, and then met these girls, and here we are. So yeah, I think all of us, it's been in our passion bucket for years. All our life.
Yeah, and when I get it, it does sound like, there was a higher being there that was behind guiding all this to get it there. And that's so awesome. I love when God works in those ways and just makes it happen. But also, Tammy, what's interesting is that, you mentioned Arlington, Texas. And when you were talking about the show there at Opryland, I actually lived about 4 years in Arlington, and we had season passes to Six Flags. And back then, they used to have shows where they actually had live singers come out and sing, and a lot of it would be country and western type music. And that's what I kind of picture, you guys doing. So, I mean, that's pretty cool that, you had that little Arlington connection there.
Yes, and my in my bloodline is Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys. He and my grandfather were cousins, and Bob Wills went to the country market, and my grandfather went into the gospel market. So yeah, Texas, lots of great musicians there and singers.
Oh, definitely. And you talk about playing at Opryland, but you eventually got out there and you were playing with a lot of big names, it seems like. So, who are some of the big names that you got to play with and tour with, and who were some of your favorites?
Ooh. Well, we did a lot. We started with Lee Greenwood. He was the first big person that we went out with, and we enjoyed him. And we did most of our touring with the Statler Brothers and the Oak Ridge Boys, and we have a real special connection with them. We did a lot of gigs, but gosh, we fronted Randy Travis and Reba, the Judds, Loretta Lynn, Exile.
Oh,
They're
wow.
back at it too
Yeah.
now, I see.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know, Cindy, what do you think? What was the most fun? What do you think?
Oh, well, most fun. Oh, I don't know. We had a lot of fun. One of
Memorable.
the best gigs that I think we did was opening for George Jones at the Kennedy Center. That one's going to always stick in my mind, is way up there, because that was a great. I mean, just what a beautiful venue, and it was very iconic to get to be there and get to be with him. So that was a great one.
So I'm guessing that was one of the shows that he actually showed up for then, correct?
Yes.
But wasn't he late?
But we did. He did show up, yes, and we were so thankful because we went over for George Jones. But he was sitting on the bus finishing up a ball game. So it wasn't that long, but you all remember that?
Yeah,
He
he was late.
He was late, not very late, but he did. And I love to tell this story too. Do y'all remember when we were standing there? We were backstage and we were making pictures, and he said, "Okay, ladies, what are your names?" And we started all introducing ourselves. And when we got to Tammy, she stepped up and went, "Hi, George, I'm Tammy." The place fell out. I mean, George was like, "Hi." But I mean, the press really enjoyed that. So
that was funny.
It was a good evening.
I bet that sounds like a great time. And, I would love it if you would just give the viewers a treat here on Hank's Corner and, give us a little bit of a show as how you guys would perform. If you guys are willing to sing for us, we'd love that.
Oh,
Sure.
glad to.
I could be walking down the street and a wind in my feet are beneath me, caught up in a fantasy, about as happy as I'm gonna be. Oh, knock on wood, I say, I feel so good today, I must be over you by now. Then like a flash of light from the sky, I think I see your smile from a car going by, and just out of the blue, I'm missing you, and I can hear my heart begin to cry.
I can hear my heart begin to
And
cry.
out of the blue, I'm missing you, and
I can hear
my heart begin to cry.
I can hear a voice inside me begging like a child, someone hide me, he's going by. Even though you'll never see a tear in my eye, I can hear my heart. I can hear my heart. I can hear my heart begin to cry.
And that was a very special Girls Next Door live singing for us. I can hear my heart begin to cry. now if you know that you're watching this, you'll realize why I think that this group is so special. Their sound is just awesome, and girls, I definitely appreciate you doing that for us. And for this last section, I always like to kind of see what else is going on and that sort of thing. So when you're not doing music, and I know now because you're getting ramped up again and that sort of thing, but when you're not doing all the stuff related to that, what are you doing? What are your hobbies? What are you doing for fun?
Well, I'll start out because I mentioned how much I love horses, and we have horses and cattle. And my husband, what we did for the past 15 years, my husband pastored a cowboy church in Oklahoma, and a lot of the events and the outreach for that for the church was our arena. So I had the opportunity to ride, but also we did the music. So I did get to ride and sing. So it was a wonderful time, as well as raising my son and being involved with that, with his life. So that's what we do. And I have a precious little granddaughter, yes, and she likes horses too.
Yeah, I definitely like horses, and it's really been a while since I've actually got to really ride a horse. It's been years, and I used to say that I could do tricks on it, but my wife would just say, "No, that's just you falling off. You're not side saddling. That's not what it is." But we actually did get a nice little thing to go to Kentucky. My daughter had an all-girl baseball tournament out there, and we got to ride horses right next to the cave that Jesse James had actually hid in at one point. So that was pretty neat.
That is so
That's
cool.
neat.
Sure is.
Yeah, but I definitely like horses, and that's definitely one way to pass the time. What else are you guys doing?
Well, I have 2 grandchildren. They're my favorite projects for sure. I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old granddaughters. And what I enjoy doing, and I did for a while before we got back together, was silversmithing, making jewelry. I like rocks and stones and all that stuff. So that's my hobby.
All right.
Mhm.
And I live in High Point, North Carolina, and I do not have grandchildren yet. I have adult children, and one of them, my son, is about to be married. So that I'm looking forward to that, growing my family that way. And I work for my sister's mental health therapist, and also we have a ministry. She had a tragedy years ago where we lost my brother-in-law and my nephew. And she went into counseling after that. And so our ministry is to help the hurting people. And I do administrative work there. But for fun, and it's fun. My sister won't like for me to not think that what I do with her is fun. But anyway, so I'm having fun. But I love to work in my yard. And I do a lot of different ministries with my church. Women's ministry. I did praise and worship for years. I love children's ministry. So I stay busy doing all of that.
And cooking.
Oh, and I told you I do. Yes. I have because of the ministry, we have a fundraising cookbook. It's called Kitchen Time with Tammy. And I have an Instagram, and I do some cooking with that just to kind of help some fundraising for the ministry with our cookbook. Thank you, girls. And we remember.
Oh yeah, definitely, because we always got to talk about food on my podcast, and so everybody needs to get out there and get that cookbook. But I also take a little side note, and I'm sorry about the tragedy, but it's great that you're working in that field, because the mental health is something that I've talked about a lot on my show. It's something that's very near and dear to me, and some of the consequences and results of that. So I definitely appreciate that you're out there. We're always making the awareness to it here on Hank's Corner. So way to slip that in.
Well, it is a vital part that is ignored or dismissed, or people think that it's not valuable or they're embarrassed by it. But I think no matter how old you are, no matter how long you live, at some time in your life, having that kind of help is so important for your well-being. So yes, we're huge proponents, all of us, for mental health.
Wonderful to hear. And Cindy, what are you doing for fun?
What am I doing for fun? Well, at this point in my life, my family keeps me busy, but it is fun. I have 2 grandchildren as well. I have a 4-year-old granddaughter and a 6-year-old grandson, and my grown daughters are married, and they all kind of live in the same area where I am. And so my husband and I get to spend a lot of time with them. We help a lot, still taking care of parents. So that's also something that, as far as taking time, but I have always been involved in my church as well, as far as praise and worship and working with the youth and that type of thing. So, but right now, I think probably the most fun thing for me is just my family time and my friend time. I love spending time getting together with friends, and I think that that is so important.
Mhm.
I have told my girls their whole life that their girlfriend, they need to make sure that they're surrounded by strong women to do life with. I think that's very important. So that's really
Yeah.
fun for me.
Yeah, what a great message to put out there, and it does become a certain part in people's lives when they realize how valuable family is, and good for those who realize it earlier. But eventually, everybody will realize it, and it's just a wonderful thing when you can spend that time with family. Now, I have an official Hank's Corner playlist where all my guests have that I've had on the podcast are on this playlist. But who is on your playlist? Who are you listening to for fun?
Wow. My playlist, I have a playlist of women singers that I love. And that includes Bonnie Raitt, Trisha Yearwood, Linda Ronstadt, Beth Nielsen Chapman, and it goes on and on and on and on. But lots of great women singers out there, but that's my favorite. Doris, you're just putting yours together.
I know. Oh, because I listened to so many different types of music growing up, and this is another crazy thing. Growing up, of course, I sang in my church, but my grandparents raised me, and they did not like country music.
Mm.
So when we started singing country music, and I started working at Opryland, I was the one going, I don't know that song, because everyone just assumed, you being from Nashville, that you knew every country song that was written, and I didn't. So it was a learning process, and I know my husband will tell me now, don't tell anybody you don't know that song. Or don't tell anybody you didn't know that, about these certain country artists. So when Girls Next Door got together, well, after I worked at Opryland, Girls Next Door got together, my playlist definitely changed to more of the country artists, just to fit in. And I love the music and the message that country brings. So heartfelt, most of it is.
Yeah, definitely. Country music is, got that story, and it's one of those things. I mean, yeah, there's fun music in there, but I always say it's stuff that will yank your heart out, and you'll feel good when it does. So that's awesome.
It's life music.
Yes,
it's just about life
That's right. Yeah.
most of the time.
Well, I like groups. I like Little Big Town. They're on my playlist. Other ones as well. Lady A, I love her, them as far as their harmonies. But I also love Harry Connick Jr. and Michael Bublé. So mine's kind of varied in that type of music, not just country. A lot of good listening stuff. What about you, Tammy?
So I have been driving back and forth from High Point to Nashville a lot, and I listen to a lot of books on tape. So I don't listen to a lot of music lately, but when I do, it is 70s rock and roll. I love Foreigner. I love Toto. I love, and my kid, I listen to Pearl Jam, Def Leppard. I listen to some of this stuff because it keeps me awake when I'm driving and keeps me energized.
That seems to be a very common theme.
Yeah, for sure. So I like a lot of the groups, Eagles, that kind of thing.
Eagles,
But I'm
I love
also,
Eagles.
if I had to have a guilty pleasure, it would be disco. So there you go.
Oh, yes.
Wow. Yes,
Yeah,
I forgot.
definitely like that. And, I can never watch the movie Grease enough. So I hear you on that one. And,
Yes.
offline we had talked about that, back in the day, you used to play at the Strawberry Festival here in Plant City, Florida. That'd be great if you guys would ever come back and do that. But what is left for you for the remainder of the year? What can we expect from Girls Next Door?
Well, we would love to have some more work. We have just started because we presented ourselves at a late time for this year. But coming up, we have the ARC Encounter in Kentucky. So we're very excited. We feel very blessed to be able to be a part of that. But because of COVID and everybody making up for the engagements that they missed during COVID, this year was kind of taken care of. But we have been told that we will have a lot of work next year. So we're looking forward to that.
Nice.
But backing up just a little bit, during Music Fest, I keep wanting to call it Fanfare, we had the opportunity to sing it for a showcase there, and it was several artists were there, and we just had a wonderful time. But we also had the opportunity to sing at the Opry House and to be on Sunday Morning Country. And that kind of closes up the a Music Fest week with a kind of a praise time. But we were invited to do that after being there 30 years ago. It was really neat to get to be invited back. So that was kind of a highlight so far this year. So hopefully we'll have lots more.
And we have a few more singles we're releasing till the end of the year, some more videos. So we're going to stay busy.
Yes.
Yeah, be sure when you get those new singles coming out to let us know over here, and we'll make sure that we put it on our new Music Friday post that we put out every Friday. It's one of the most popular things that I have on my page. So I love doing that, even though it's not my photography or anything like that. But I definitely like promoting the artist, and that Ark Encounter sounds great. We were just up there. I really enjoyed that. It's definitely amazing to see the scope of that. But it's a shame you weren't playing up there when we were there. We would have loved that. But I definitely appreciate you coming on the podcast. This is Girls Next Door 2.0 full blast, and I get to experience some of that beginnings of the new chapter. And we definitely wish you well here at Hank's Corner.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Hank, we'd like for people to find us at our website. You can find every other type of social media and platform at www.girlsnextdoormusic. Be sure and put music in there.com, and you'll be able to find us.
That's right.
Yes, and it's definitely listed below here, and you guys will be able to find that. Definitely follow them on social media and check out their website so you can see what's going on and where they're going to be. And Girls Next Door, thank you so much for being on Hank's Corner.
You're welcome.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
When you left me, I was sad and I was lonely. Couldn't face the night without your arms to hold me. On my own, I found a way to be your woman. Who could live for more than the love and the touch of a man? You told me take it slow, slow, China. Well, I did, baby, nothing could define her. I take a slow, anywhere away from you. You told me take a slow boat to China. Well, I did, baby, nothing could define her. I take a slow boat to anywhere away from you. When you left me, they said I would never make it. Now I'm better, but everybody thinks I'm faking. On my own, I'm laughing and looking like I mean it. Since you let me go, I've been doing the best that I can. You told me take a slow boat to China. Well, I didn't, baby, nothing could define her. I'll take a slow boat to anywhere away from you. You told me take a slow boat to China. Well, I didn't, baby, nothing could define her. I'll take a slow boat to anywhere away from you. And to think that you once owned me, I live for you and for you only. If someone